G'day, thanks for joining me on another guided tour of myrccoach.com. This time around we're going to have a look at the setup tips. Now I have included in here some relatively comprehensive tips, tuning tips for your RC cars covering 10 scale, 8 scale, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, buggies, trucks, truggies, etc., etc. It is very comprehensive. Before we go any further into that, I want to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. These tips are my tips that I have gathered in my time in RC, through my own experiences, through talking with other racers in the community, through working with some pros, and also from a bunch of different RC resources. How do you have a nice tuning guide? Techno RC have some literature. The Invisible Speed course by JQ is probably the most in-depth and scientific approach to RC setup you can come across. If you have an opportunity to look into that, I really suggest you do so. It's a bit to bite off, but you will benefit from it. I can guarantee you that. All those sorts of things. I've gained some knowledge over time, and I've imparted that knowledge into myrccoach.com. Not everybody is going to agree with everything that I say here. And there might be that I've got some errors in my tips as well. Perhaps there's some things I've accidentally got backwards, or perhaps I just don't understand something and have got it wrong. If you come across something like that that you don't agree with, or you feel is just straight up incorrect, please let me know about it. I've included a little link up here where you can get in touch with me and just say, hey, that setup tip is just completely incorrect. This is what it is in reality. Or, when I go out on track and try that, it gives me a different result. Whatever it is, I'd love to hear about it. My RC coach is for you guys. I use it as well, obviously, but I want everything in here to be as accurate as it can be within reason. There is also scenarios where particular setup or tuning options work differently for some people than they do for others. It might be the particular type of track that they're racing on. It might be the breed of car they're using. It might just come down to two different setups. It is possible for the same tuning option to perform differently when it's related to two completely different setups. So you can get some discrepancies. Keep that in mind. If you do find something wrong, please let me know about it. I'd prefer if you're nice about it, but if you don't want to be nice about it, so be it. What I'd love to do then is look at your comments, and I'll go and research them. Perhaps I can go and test it on track, and if I find that what I've written here is incorrect, then I'm going to correct it. We want this to be as good as we can make it. So okay, all of that aside, first thing we come to is the AI setup wizard. We're going to go through this a little bit later. We'll leave that one to the end. Quick setup reference. What I've included here is some very quick reference information, so that you can open up this app very quickly, click on setup tips, come here, okay, I'm going to this other track, this is what the surface is like, what should I change? Now, obviously I've not included every particular type of surface here. This is meant to be very, very quick reference, just to put you in a particular frame of mind of how you should set up your car for different track surfaces. Same with handling issues. So you're on a race day, you need to make some quick changes to your car because you're not quite keeping up. Okay, I've got some understeer. What sort of changes do I need to make to improve performance of my car? And this is going to give you some very, very quick information about how you might make some adjustments. Then some quick adjustments as well. So this sort of comes into handling issues as well. They're just there as a very, very quick reference. There's no detailed information. It's just, okay, if your car's under steering, do this. And that's what we want that for. Next up, we've got some setup principles. These are just a couple of guess you could call them a mantra that I live by with my, when I approach car setup. First things first is you should always be conservative with whatever changes you make to your car. If you go and make 3 or 4 setup changes to your car and then drive it and your car feels better, which one of those 3 or 4 changes had the effect? Is it possible that one of those changes is actually working against the others and the effect is reduced? Those things can happen. So it's best to make, one change, maybe 2 if you're really feeling adventurous. Go out on track, test it, come back, get a result. Balance is key. It is easy you can sometimes hear the term getting lost in setup. That can happen. You can work so hard on one area of your car and neglect others, and then just find that your balance between your front and rear is just, your suspension geometry is completely imbalanced. And no matter what you do, things that should improve the performance of your car no longer do, just because you're so far out of whack. So you don't get lost in setup. Make sure that you're balancing the changes that you're making, especially with your suspension geometry. It makes a lot of difference. Okay, now we come to the meat of it, the RC setup guide. This is where we start getting a little bit in depth. I've split this up into categories. So you've got your front end, rear end, chassis and drivetrain, aero and nitro motor. So if we start with the front end, this gives us a fair bit of information. It's not going to tell you what to do. It tells you what the tuning options are and what the effects can be. So front shock oil weight. If we reduce the viscosity, I think that's the right terminology there. If we put lighter oils in, which is what most people say, this is what's going to happen. It's going to increase your steering response and aggressiveness. It allows suspension to react more quickly to track irregularities. Best for bumpy tracks, low grip conditions, when you need more initial turn-in. I'm not going to go through this word by word. That's for you to go through and research at your own time as you feel like it. So we go through springs, we go through sway bars, camber, toe settings, shock angles, Ackerman, caster, etc., etc., etc. There are some things that are missing, and we will add those over time as we come across them. Rear end, similar thing. So I'll point out that the front and rear end is the same information for 8 scale, 10 scale trucks, buggies, etc., etc. There are some nuances, but overall the principles are the same, so we've left them the same. Chassis and drivetrain. I don't know why that's such a hard word for me to say. It always is. This is different for 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive, obviously, because they have different gearboxes and different drivetrain mechanisms. 4-wheel drive the principles are the same for 10 scale and 8 scale, so I've rolled them in together. There are some differences, particularly if you have things like belt-driven cars or shaft-driven. You can have some shaft-driven 2-wheel drives as well. Some of the older Team C cars, I think, work that way. What happens when you change your front diff, center diff, rear diff, 2-wheel drive diff system? So we've got some information on ball diffs, gear diffs, slip clutches. Then we go into wheelbase, chassis length, battery position, ride height, etc. Aero is all about the bodies and wings. There's quite a lot of different bodies out there for your RC cars. A few different manufacturers, people making different wings. You can modify your wings. You can have more wiggle bill, less wiggle bill, etc., etc. Front wings, all that information's on here. And nitro motors. So this is all about motor tuning and setup. I will preface this by saying that I know absolutely zero about nitro cars. The limit of my knowledge is that they make a bit of noise, and when requested, I can throw some fuel roughly in the direction of the car, and that's my experience with being a pitman for nitro cars. What I have done here is I've engaged an AI to research nitro motors and provide information on how to tune them and what that does. I then talk to some people that I trust and ask them to review this, and they've come back saying I don't disagree with anything, so that's where we are with this. I can't tell you whether what's written here is correct or not. I just simply do not know. If you find an error, please let me know about it and I'll very quickly change it. I'll just take your word for it because I don't know. I would love for somebody with a lot of nitro tuning experience to get in touch and give me some information so that I can flesh this out and make sure it's accurate. I did contemplate leaving it out, but I think it's an important aspect of RC racing, so I think it needs to be here. But we also need it to be correct. Hopefully what's here is not incorrect. Right, so that's the RC setup guide. Right down the bottom of this, we've got some setup fundamentals and best practices. Just a little bit of information of, how should you approach RC setup, what things to keep in mind, those sorts of things. I will quickly say that when you are setting up a new RC car, particularly if you're relatively new to this, start with the setup that's in the user manual that came with the car. If you have purchased a second-hand car and you don't have the user manual, you can go online for that manufacturer and download it. Or you can get in touch with other people that you race with at your track that might have a similar car and say, can you provide me with your setup sheet, and start with that. Start with a known workable setup sheet and then make adjustments from there. And like I said, make one or two adjustments at most, test it on track, and then come back and have a look at it. All right, enough rambling. AI Setup Wizard. What is this? This is my attempt at using an AI agent to ask questions about the performance of your car and what you want to change about it, and then provide results being what you can change on your car to achieve your goals. Let's have a look at it. So this tuning wizard is asking me what do I want to improve about my car. There's a few options here. It probably needs fleshing out a little bit further than what it is. But let's say my car's pushing into corners. I approach a corner with speed, I brake well, but it just doesn't seem to want to hug that corner. It wants to push wide a little bit all the time. How do I change that? So corner entry steering, I want to change that. How does my car handle? I said it pushes wide, so that's what I'm going to say. Now it's asking another question. How responsive is the initial steering input? Well, it's pushing. It's not very responsive at all. So slow to respond, car feels heavy. That kind of describes what I'm feeling, and get recommendations. So what's happened here is the AI agent has reviewed mostly my information through my RC coach, but it's also got some information that's just out there on the webs. And it's provided some tuning options that are relevant to the information that I just gave it. I've limited, so there's 3 cards here that show you 3 different tuning options. I've limited the amount that it's going to show at once. Too many options sometimes creates a little bit of difficulty when it comes to choosing which one you want to play with. So I've tried to limit it. And I've also sorted them by the highest impact and easiest difficulty should be the first one that's displayed. So what do I mean by impact? I mean, what sort of impact is this going to have on the performance of your car on the track? High impact means it's going to, you're going to see a big result one way or another. And then difficulty, how easy is it for you to apply this change to your car? Both of these are subjective. The impact here by changing front differential might be light for some people depending on their setup, and the difficulty might be a little bit more difficult depending on how easy it is to access the front diff, for example. It's just a way of me sorting which options should I show you first. So front differential is a tuning option. It suggests that we decrease the front diff fluids. So we go lighter in the front diff, which makes sense because lighter diffs help you out with steering, give you a little bit more aggressive steering. Tells you why it helps. So it's pretty much exactly what I just said. And if you click that more information button, it gives you a little bit more information about changing your front differential in general. It's not specific to reducing diff oils. It gives you information about both increasing and decreasing diff oils. So just more information if you want to know why that helps. There it is. Tells me I could change my front springs. I could use softer front springs. Again, I agree with that. I also agree that it's a fairly easy thing to do to change front springs on most cars. And we could change our caster angle. So if we reduce our caster, it might make it a little bit easier for the car to turn in without losing too much stability. Now, caster is a interesting one. Some people think that it should go one way, and some people think it should go another. I think this is heavily setup dependent. But anyway, you can have a look at this. It tells you how to adjust, what the effects of adjusting caster does to a car. Now, because I only have limited cards to show you here, so you don't have too many options to choose from and get a little bit confused, the AOA has decided that there's another one that we could look at as well, but it's because it's a more advanced or a more difficult thing to get at. It's on some cars, it's hidden it. Just so if one of those other three you think is going to do the job for you, go and do that. If you want another option, then there was one there. We could change the Ackerman. Some cars this is really easy to change. Other cars it takes a little bit more wrenching to get to your Ackerman adjustments. Sometimes you've got to access your parts kit, etc., etc. So yeah, that's there. If we wanted to, we can go back and have a new goal. Oh, it looks like I have just found a bug. It looks like my new goal button is not doing what it's supposed to do. I need to fix that one. Okay. So yeah, there's our AI setup wizard. We've gone through the quick setup reference. We've talked about the RC setup guide. Yeah, like I said, it's if you find an error, please let me know about it. Just hit this button here. It'll take you to the contacts. You can get a hold of me and let me know what it is that you found that was wrong, and we'll quickly research that and correct it. If I'm missing something and you think we should add it, hit that request a feature button. I'll see that, and if I think it's something that we can add, then we'll go ahead and add that as well. We'll leave it at that for now. The next one is going to be all about the training buddy. We'll get to that in the next video. And then the last one will be the parts management that we've built into my RC Coach. I hope you're using the app. I've seen quite a few people have signed up, and that's great to see. A lot of people adding setup sheets and logging their fleet, etc., etc. I hope this builds. Like I said, I'm not making any money from this. It's all about having a resource for the RC community that's useful, and with you guys in mind, you can get a hold of me and tell me what you want changed and what you want to see in this app, and we can build it together from there. We'll leave it at that for this one. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.